Hi, and welcome to my channel, Laura's Library Card. So today I'm going to be discussing my top 10 of 2020. I know this video is a little late, but here we go. I put together this list by looking through my Goodreads at every month and kind of picking 2 or 3 books from every month. And then I was like, I don't want to do a video of 25 books. So I kind of split that list. I pared it down and split it in half. So there will be a video coming out soon that is sort of top 10 or 12 like most interesting books, or a book from every month that kind of stuck with me, or something that I thought was different from what I normally read. So yeah, but keep an eye out for that coming soon. And today's video is going to be my top 10 kind of favorite slash best books that I read in 2020. As you can imagine, it was kind of hard to put together this list and pare it down to just keep it to 10. But yeah, so I'm just gonna tell you 10 that I really enjoyed, and to some extent their order could be changed a little bit, but let's just dive right in. So starting at number 10 was Beach Read by Emily Henry. I read this over the summer. It was a Page Turner Book Club choice for that book club. And this is, I went into it thinking it was going to be like a romantic comedy, and it really is a lot more than that. And I think that that is why some people were frustrated with the book or gave it slightly a lower rating, not because it wasn't good or enjoyable, but because they went into it with like a different expectation. So in that book we follow Gus and January, and the premise is that these two are writers, and he writes literary fiction and she writes romance or romantic comedies, and then they are kind of in like writer's blocks, so they swap genres. But the book's really a lot more about that, more than that. It is them falling for each other, but we also deal with a lot of like grief and death of a parent, and January is trying to come to terms with like not only the loss of her father, but kind of realizing that her father wasn't somebody that she turned out that she really knew. And so in a lot of ways that resonated strongly with me. Just, I could sort of see some of those parallels, and it really kind of hit me in the feels, and I definitely teared up, especially toward the end when she gets a little bit more information about her dad. So I enjoyed this book. I laughed and I cried a little bit, and I would recommend Beach Read, but I'm going to give you a warning that it's not quite the like fluffy romantic comedy that it looks like from the outside in its packaging. The ninth book on this list is, or in ninth place is, I chose The Only Plane in the Sky, An Oral History of 9/11, which was written by Garrett Graff. This is a nonfiction book that I listened to in September, I think, or October, September or October, and it is all about 9/11. So I listened to this on audiobook, and that really, I think, made it stronger for me because there was actual audio played from recordings from that day, like from the planes calling to the towers at the airports and stuff. So I put this book on this list because it really made a strong impact on me. I was kind of young when 9/11 happened, and so I was trying to kind of line up my memories and also what I've heard other people talk about with this book while I was reading it, and I found it just really a moving and like obviously it was moving and it was very emotional, and I was listening to it at work, and there was a couple times where I had to be like, okay, I need to pause this and gather myself because I cannot be crying here at work. But I found The Only Plane in the Sky really emotionally moving, and I felt like it was a good way of telling the story because it was just kind of told in these little snippets chronologically throughout the day, but from snippets from hundreds if not thousands of people in interviews, and I found that really evocative about like where people were and what they were doing on that day. So yeah, that was The Only Plane in the Sky. Next book on the list in 8th place is Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. I read this on ebook, and it is a contemporary story, male romance following Luke and Oliver, and I found this book hilarious. There was something about the humor that just was really getting to me, and I found the book hilarious. And I also found it kind of touching. I know that there were some people who were kind of bummed and this book did not resonate with them, but for me, boyfriend material was these two very kind of unlikely opposites attract, main characters who decide to be like emotional with each other, who decide to be vulnerable to each other, and they are like kind of fake dating, and so they both are a little more straightforward and vulnerable than they might be with someone that they were actually interested in, and then that is what of course leads to them developing feelings. So that's sort of my catnip, is not only fake dating, but I particularly care about like the emotional development of our main characters, and I want their love to be believable, and I feel like that happens when we see tender moments between them. And I felt like boyfriend material walked the line of having the right amount of tension and the right amount of like sort of unbelievability, because these two characters are so unlike each other, but also like it was really funny, and I really enjoyed having these two characters kind of open themselves up to each other. And so I really liked boyfriend material and rated it highly. The next book on this list, in 7th place, is Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. I read this in the summer, I think, and it was because everyone was kind of raving about it and loving it, and so I jumped on that train and loved it just as much. So in this book, we follow Chloe, and the main male character is Redford, and so Chloe has sort of a near-death experience, and she decides she needs to get a life, so she kind of makes a bucket list of things she wants to do, and then when she meets Red, he may or may not be helping her kind of figure out what she wants out of life, and feelings develop. So I enjoyed both these characters. I felt like Chloe was really like real. I kind of resonated with that idea of wanting to get a life, to live life to its fullest, I haven't had like a near death experience like that, but she was determined to kind of like, stop and smell the roses, and also like grab the bull by the horns. How many more cliches can I shove into here? And I admired that. I felt like she was like really brave, and Red was a artist, and he was just a cinnamon roll, and he just really cared about Chloe like from the beginning. Like, yes, he thought she was attractive, but like before he even really gets to know her, he's already like so in tune with her. Like he's never pitying, because Chloe has like chronic pain issues and chronic illness, and Red just like accepts that and is whatever, and he's helpful without being suffocating or pitying, and I really loved that. And also their like bleak moment where they have this big fight, they kind of both instantly realize like he storms out and he's like standing in the hallway and he's like, oh, what did I do? And so I really felt like that was handled well. They were both like emotionally in tune with themselves enough to kind of immediately rectify what went wrong. And so I felt like that was like really mature, and just kind of made that third act of drama like realistic and fun, and also like really mature. So I really enjoyed Get a Life, Chloe Brown. Next on this list is Heartstopper, which I have here. I don't remember where I got this recommendation, but I read it over the summer, maybe even might have been like pretty early on my channel. This is by Alice Oseman. It is a graphic novel. I got it from it's told in these like black and white and like kind of like mint tones, which I really liked. And I got my first version from the library, but I own this copy, and I read this in essentially, I think, all one sitting, and I just was like squealing about it. We follow Nick and Charlie. They are going to an all-boys school in the UK somewhere. Charlie is out as gay, bi? I think he's gay. And so that he's gotten some like bullying and stuff from that in the past. But Nick is sort of becomes his friend, and then as like maybe feelings develop, we see Nick's journey with this, and like Charlie is like, I can't be interested in like a straight boy. But they were just so like, there's really strong emphasis on friendship between these two that is sort of has this underlying like maybe it's more than friendship. So I really enjoyed Heartstopper, and I loved it so much that my husband was like, I kept turning around and being like, look at this moment where he's being so cute. And he went ahead and bought me the other 2 volumes, but I have not read them. So I'm going to change that in 2021. I'm going to read Heartstopper volume 1 again, and I'm going to read volume 2 and 3. So Heartstopper made my list. In 5th place is another Talia Hibbert. I read the novella of Mating the Huntress. I read this around Halloween time, or maybe earlier October, and this is a novella that has a fated mates trope, and we follow Chastity and Luke. He is a werewolf, and she is a werewolf hunter, and she comes from a family where all the women are huntresses. And I love this book. It was a novella, and I was a little like, I don't know how this is gonna go, because novellas never quite seem to me to be like well enough wrapped up together to be like a unit. But that expectation was far exceeded by Mating the Huntress, because as soon as Luke like scents Chastity and realizes that that is his mate, he's already like in love with her. And so we didn't have to take the time in the novella for both feelings to develop. We could really focus on Chastity developing her feelings. And I thought that was done really, really well. She's kind of battling her pull toward Luke and learning about him, and like that some of the stuff that she might have known or been taught as a huntress is not quite accurate. I loved Chastity. She was funny. I just really enjoyed this entire novella, and immediately recommended it to friends, and I recommended it to my cousin Nicole, and she and I did like a whole discussion on this. I'll link that in the cards and down in the description. And yeah, it just like clinched it to me that Talia Hibbert is awesome and an author that I want to dive into all of her backlist. Next on this list is another nonfiction book. This might be on this list because I read it as the last book of 2020, but I really enjoyed it. So this is going to hurt. The Secret Diaries of a Medical Resident by Adam Kay is my 4th place book on this list. I really enjoyed this nonfiction book. We follow Adam Kay as he's like going through his medical residency equivalent in the UK, and they're his journal art entries as well as sort of like a preface to each kind of year, how it's divided. This book is really relevant to me. I have family in the medical field and friends in the medical field, and I'm in the medical field. I'm not a doctor, but like there was so much in there that just really spoke to me, and that I was like, yes. And also I found it hilarious. He has moments of sadness too, because like every doctor has sad stories. So I felt like those were balanced really well, that it was sort of 3/4 funny, and sort of 1/4 sad / like just like moving. And so I think that this book really surprised me with how funny it was, like I found it hilarious. And also, I think it really kind of just struck home a little bit closer to me than I was expecting before I read it, because of that medical field connection. So that's why this is going to hurt made it on this list. I think maybe like 6 months from now, I don't think it would be 4th place, but I am glad that I read this book and would really recommend if you have any sort of medical friends. All right, so top 3 books. My 3rd place is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. This is a wonderful book. I read it for the Page Turner Book Club, and it is sort of a magical realism book. We follow Arthur and Linus. Linus is this like middle-aged man. He is essentially a social worker, where in this universe there are magical people, and they're kind of there are safe homes / orphanages for magical children, and so he helps check on these homes for magical children. So he goes to this like super special house in the Cerulean Sea that is a home / orphanage for a number of these magical children. And the kids are great. The kids are amazing. They are fun and funny, and I think bring a ton of charm to the book. And this book really is full of like messages and themes that are conveyed in this poignant writing. Linus goes through a lot of sort of his own understanding of the world changes, and that is a beautiful journey to follow him on. And there's, you know, little hints of him finding love there. This whole book is so soft but like powerful, and it was a wonderful book. And it was also funny. It's all about found family. This was the second TJ Klune book that I had read in the year, and it was amazing, and I think he is now an auto-buy author. You should definitely read The House in the Cerulean Sea. So my number 2 book in the year was very hard to choose between House in the Cerulean Sea and number 2, but I chose Two Rogues Make a Right by Sebastian as my number 2 book. This is a historical romance that is a male-male story where we follow Will and Martin. They were friends in childhood, and Martin is like titled, he's a gentleman, and Will has been in the Navy and has been his childhood friend. And I normally am kind of like, I don't know, childhood friends to lovers, is that something I'm going to be super interested in? I don't know, but this one did it for me. The Martin is ill and Will takes care of him, and so they have this like nursing back to health trope. They have forced proximity because they're in this like cabin together, and these two characters were so emotionally vulnerable with each other, and they were so loving with each other, and they both really truly cared about what would be best for the other person. And so I really felt like all of the emotional development was there and made me believe that they were both truly in love with each other, and it was just a beautiful story. So I would definitely want to read more by Sebastian. The Two Rogues Make a Right is the second book in that series, so I kind of want to continue that series. But Will and Martin just like found a spot in my heart and kind of wrecked me. But not as much as my top book, which I have mentioned before on this channel and is not a surprise. My number 1 book of 2020 was Wolfsong, also by TJ Klune. And this is a paranormal romance, male romance, that has like werewolves and magic and other, you know, magical, fantastical elements. It's a long book. I knew that it was going to be very emotional when I read it, and that is true. I like laughed out loud at a number of parts, but I also like sobbed my guts out at a couple parts. And that is because we follow Joe and we follow Ox, and Ox is our main character, and his like way of thinking and just who he is such a strong component. Like, you know who Ox is, not know who he is, but you resonate with him from page 1. Like, it is told in his point of view, and it is just such a strong writing, and it's such a strong viewpoint. Like, I don't think I've ever read a book character that I have like so instantly loved and felt that I was in his brain and that he was special and different from anybody else that I'd ever read. So it also is a little bit of smutty, like towards the end of the book. So there is those elements as well. But Wolfsong kind of emotionally did all of the work and was amazing. So I definitely 100% recommend that you read Wolfsong. I can't believe I was not holding it up this whole time. I cannot wait to reread Wolfsong in 2021 and also continue the Green Creek series. So there you have it. Those are my top 10 books of 2020. It was very hard to choose this list. Like I said before, keep an eye out for a coming soon video where I talk about 10-ish other books that I really liked and or thought were interesting and or stuck with me in 2020. That'll be coming soon. If you have read any of the books that I mentioned in this video, please leave a comment down below about why I was right or wrong. If you have other recommendations that are similar to some of the books that I spoke about here, I would love to hear those, because I'm always looking for recommendations that are similar to books that I loved. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave comments about what your favorite couple books in 2020 were. I know it's very hard to choose, but maybe give me 1 or 2 that you really loved. I would really appreciate that. Thanks for watching. Bye.